All right. So good morning. We're on Growing Pains and on Light Breakfast this morning with Datin. With me this morning is Datin Paduka Asmah Ibrahim, CEO of OrphanCare. It's a non-profit organization aiming to give children a loving home. Well, to be honest, Datin, I must say I have a 7-year-old child, so I'm trying to teach him about being grateful for what he has, and that other children might not be as lucky as him as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's important in building a family where children know how lucky they are when they still have their parents. But um, can you give us just an overview of, because I think people might have heard orphan care, people have heard baby hatch. Can you
Mhm.
tell us what is orphan care all about?
Okay. First and foremost, thank you, Sham, for having us on air this morning.
Our pleasure,
Appreciate
Datin.
that very much, and I hope this opportunity is for us also to create more awareness on our work to save more lives and babies and women especially. So as you mentioned earlier, OrphanCare is a non-profit organization. It was established back in 2008, and our aim is to give children living in institution and unplanned babies a chance to feel love and care in a security of a family. That is in accordance to our tagline of every child needs a family. So in orphan care, we are actually not an orphanage. So please don't misunderstood that thought that we have stock of babies in our office. No, we don't. It is actually a transit center for unplanned babies and children pending adoption. So we work closely with Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, KPWKM, to expedite the adoption process whereby babies and underprivileged children in institutions are quickly matched up and placed with suitable parents or return to their families or immediate families. So we are more known for our baby hatch programs where birth moms can put their baby in a safe place. Baby hatch is a safe haven for a baby instead of throwing it at unsuitable place where we know that from statistics 50% of those babies left actually 50 only 50% were able to survive. So in our hatch we have a system whereby the minute the birth mom or whoever put the baby in a hatch, it will trigger a sensor that will turn on the light, turn on the air condition, and also the alarm goes on. And the minute that they close the door, it will not be able to open from outside anymore. And then our caretaker will quickly pick up the babies and attend to it immediately. So apart from that, we also actually provide temporary shelters in small number for birth mom and assist them throughout their delivery process and to basically to save the lives of the mom and the baby as well. But our main mission is to allow every child to grow up in a family. So our apart from handling babies, we also work with institutions. When we say institutions, it means that the orphanage where we try to reintegrate the children in the orphanage to their immediate family or extended family, or provide opportunity for them to be adopted or fostering or having a foster parents. So we do this because we realize that studies has shown that children grown up in institution has got a lot of negative impacts on them. From studies, it shows that children after 18, when they left the institutions, they are having higher risk of committing suicide, and even they are actually getting they are vulnerable to be involved in gangsterism or prostitution,
Right.
basically because they have no one to refer to.
All right. So every child needs a family, and that's where Orphan Care comes in. You're not a
Yes.
place where there are children at your center at the moment. You become a transit point. So
Mhm,
meaning families will go to you, family or couples who want to adopt would come to you, and then you organize it. Now we're talking more about adoption. Sometimes it
mhm,
has never crossed my mind, but I sometimes wonder. Now, can you
mhm,
tell us? I think some people out there are also wondering about adoption. What are some of the most important things to consider before adopting a child?
mhm. Okay, in orphan care, we want to make sure that every couples who wants to go for who wants to adopt a child are prepared mentally, emotionally, as well as financially to adopt a child. So we have quite how should I say, stringent procedures that they have to go through. First and foremost, they have got to fill up a form with their information, the details information that we require, so that from there we can do a first screening process.
Right.
And then from there we will call them for an interview to verify back the information that they have put up in the forms. And if they qualify, then they will have to go through training course, what we call PAPS training course, that is potential adoptive parents training course. So the training course, in the training course, we will tell them everything that they need to know about adopting a child. And as you know, raising a child that is not your biological is not the same as raising your own biological child. See, there's a lot of mentally and emotionally preparedness that you have to have in the first place. Sometimes you do not know the background of the mother, the birth mom, the kind of stress level that she's going through during pregnancy and so on, which somehow will have the impact on the child. So every couple that intends to adopt has got to prepare themselves to face these situations. The child may give you all kind of troubles, but you got to be prepared for it. And there are some ways of doing it, which we will also teach during the training, how to create bonding with a child, even how to later on, at later stage, inform your child that they are not your biological child, they are adopted child. Then there are ways of telling them that. How do we prepare them for that, and what are the suitable age for us to inform them that they are adopted child, and so on and so forth.
All right. So, well, before we get to the mentally preparedness of these potential couples who want to adopt, what are some of the criteria that you look for, like age, household income, anything like that, Datin?
Yes, we do. We do have such requirement. First, I think there is an age limit, and this is also in accordance to what the welfare department has set up. The couple has, okay, among the criteria that we have put in, they must be married for at least 5 years and have no children at all. So they'll be given priority.
No
And
children.
no children. That
Okay.
means it's a childless
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
after married at least 5 years. And then they must have some medical report on their fertility to support the situations. Of course, they must be Malaysian citizens, or Malaysian citizen married to a foreigner is also acceptable. Living in Peninsular Malaysia, why I say living in Peninsular Malaysia, because the adoption procedure in Sabah and Sarawak is different.
Okay.
Therefore, we only handle for Peninsular Malaysia. And they must be mentally and physically healthy, and no criminal record, and they live in a safe neighborhood. Combined income for both at least 5,000 ringgit per month.
All right. Now, I did hear you said that it has to be a childless couple. That means people with children
Yes.
cannot adopt, or you're talking about giving priority to those who are child.
For babies, we only allow the childless couple. But those with children who wants to have additional children, they can go for older children adoption.
Right.
Older children means that, we do work closely with the welfare department. There are children who has cleared all the procedures and ready for adoption. Some of them are in the age of 4, 5 years old, some 7 years old, there's also some teenagers. So we try to match them with older couple and also couples with children, or can be single, can be men or women who are not married but wanted to adopt a child.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier on about being mentally prepared. Now, this is something that I think it's if not one of the most important things, it is probably the most important thing to consider before adopting a child, because I would assume that this is not just walking into a shopping mall and buying a product and then returning
Exactly.
having a
Not
refund.
getting it from the shelf.
Okay, so how much mental? I mean, so a couple before approaching you, even approaching OrphanCare, for that matter, it needs to be really, really prepared. As in, there is no U-turn in this step that we're about to take. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure. We do not want to have cases whereby after a while they return back the child. That is very bad for the child. So we want to make sure that they are really ready, means that they have, between the husband and wife, they must discuss it thoroughly, and both parties must agree to the adoption, because there are occasions where only the husband is excited to do adoption and the wife is not ready, or vice versa. And also we want them to also discuss with their extended families. We even ask them question like, in case something happened to one of them or both of them, would they who is going to take responsible in taking care of the child? So there's a lot of preparedness that they need to do, and they have to also start reading about raising a child, especially about, there's some books written about the hurt child, so they have to understand the child that they are going to adopt.
Definitely a different approach to then just walking into a supermarket. This is not a you can't make comparisons like that. It takes a
Yes.
lot of discussions, a lot of planning, and a lot of, like you
Yes.
said, mental preparedness. Now, for
Yes.
couples who want to adopt, how do we go about starting the process? I mean, do we approach JPN first, NGOs, or OrphanCare straight away?
The JKM also has some procedure, but if you want to work with OrphanCare, you can approach us, and you will have to fill up a form and pay an application fee for 550 ringgit, which is not refundable. So once your form gets submitted to us, then the process started. That's why I said after filling up the form, we call you for an interview, and then after that, if you qualify the interview, then we put you on the training, and after training we will do a home visit to make sure that your house and the surrounding neighborhood is conducive to raise a child, and only after that you will be put on the waiting list. So if we know that there might be a child coming soon. Why I say that is, of course, the baby hatch, we do not know who's going to come and put the baby.
Correct.
But for birth mom that referred their cases to us, we can more or less prepare ourselves, based on their due date. Then we will have a second interview with the parents on the waiting list to basically check their readiness. Because sometimes, you just cannot say that I have a baby, are you ready now? Because some people will need to prepare something. So then after that, then only once we have the baby, the adoption process takes place. We will also have to submit their application to JKM for that matter as well, so that they have the record. So we are making sure that all legal procedures are being abided to. This is not baby trafficking or human trafficking for that matter.
Right.
So it has to be done in a very transparent and clear manner.
Okay, and so it sounds like a very long process, but
Mhm.
on average, how long do you think all these steps take, and how long does it take to actually to have the child be in the family?
Okay. For the whole processing is between 2 to 3 months. I mean, depending on how complete the information are. Sometimes the information will have back by the parents because they need to go back and get the medical record and so on. Once they have all the application, then we can quickly arrange for interview and have the training conducted. So then they will be put on the waiting list. And when the child comes, that one we cannot really promise exactly, but on average is between one. There are some who got it after a few months. There are some who has to wait up to 1 or 2 years because we are not producing baby as such.
Yeah, no,
We don't keep stock. So it's actually what we say is the rezeki, if it's
that's
yours,
right.
then we process it. But once we have the baby, the process is just between 1 to 2 weeks. If the baby is okay, no health problem, nothing, so we have done it within a week or so, or even
I
less
see.
than a week,
Okay.
because documentation are already.
All right. Now, you did mention about the cost just now. There was a fee of 50 ringgit that is not refundable. Are
Mhm.
there any other costs involved? Now, the reason why I'm asking this is so that if there are any couples who want to adopt, that they would know that there is no funny business over here when approaching orphan care. So, are there any other costs that are involved in this?
Okay, the 50 ringgit is basically the application fee, which I think is quite fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
You apply, and every time you make an application, there's a small fee. The other costs would depend very much on the actual cost that we incur. For example, if there is a birth mom who's sheltered with us for 1 month before delivery,
Uh-huh.
we don't take birth mom from their early pregnancy. So we normally take them in towards the end of the trimester, I mean, like 2 weeks before or like that. Let's say if they stay for 1 month with us, where we provide them shelter, food, security, and everything, we charge 50 ringgit per day for the shelter that we provide. And that cost will be put back to the adoptive parents. So it will varies from case to case.
Okay.
If the birth mom stayed longer, then of course the cost will be longer. And then there's also cost to send them to the clinics. If they take Grab or we send them by Grab, whatever, all receipt and everything will be kept, and it will be very transparent, and what we charge are all the actual costs.
All right.
And then after that, maybe if the baby are left with us for some times before we give to the adoptions. So we have some costing like 70 ringgit per week if the baby stays with us, because we have a caretaker who's supposed to take care of the babies. So those are all actual costs. And we have a small management fee that we charge that is basically to cover our post-adoption visit for 2 years. But because after that, for 2 years, we will be doing a home inspection
Right.
to the adoptive parents to see if everything is okay, if they need any help, they want to discuss anything. So we monitor the whole case for 2 years. So that's all. If it is from baby hatch, then of course you don't have the shelter costs and so on.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
it's all based on what cost incurred, during the
yeah.
whole process. That's
Right.
understood. And also, can you tell us what are some of the biggest challenges that arise during the adoption process, based on your
Okay.
experience or on Orphan Care's experience, actually?
Well, I have to tell you that every case is different. Sometimes we have some difficulties with the birth mom. Sometimes we do have difficulties with the adoptive parents
Right.
because everybody has got their different requirement. Now, for your information also, not all babies in orphan care with birth mom are given away for adoption. There are some that are taken back by the birth mom,
Ah,
because we do counseling. Okay, there's another thing. Counseling is a very important part of our work. we need to counsel them whether they really want to take care of their baby or they want to give adoption. We don't force them to give for adoption. Basically, we have to think in the interest of the child. So they must be sure if they want to give for adoption. And we also practice adoption system whereby we try to have the birth mom to meet the adoptive parents at least once.
Okay.
It's not a process that you try to hide the identity of the birth mom and the adoptive parent. Some adoptive parent can be very sensitive or having some fear of this, but actually we do get them to meet once, and of course with our presence, so there's no reason to be afraid of, etc. So some adoptive parents also have some requirements, like they want a perfect baby, they want a cute baby, they want a fair one, which we cannot entertain that.
Okay.
And some prefers boy instead of girl, girl instead of boy, also we cannot entertain that, because even your own child, you can't determine all those, isn't it?
Yeah, well, most definitely. And I think I understand why if there is an opportunity for the adoptive parents to meet the biological
Mm.
parents or
Moms.
mother, for that
Mm.
matter, that you would do that, because we hear so many stories of children discovering that they're adopted when they're much older and by accident. I mean, if say there is no chance to meet the biological mother and somehow that's not happening, would you recommend adoptive parents being open with their child and telling them that they're adopted at an early age? I mean, how should these parents explain to their adoptive child?
Yes, that is being taught in the training course.
Ah, okay.
We do recommend that they have to tell the children. Uh, Most normally is as early as once they start going to schools, because they're going to start asking why the name of the father is different
Oh my
from,
gosh, yes,
you, you
yes.
know you once the child knows how to read and start exposing themselves to their other peers, I mean, all these questions will rise. So let's prepare them, and all the techniques and how to say, how to tell them, that will be trained during the training.
All right. I think that then, lastly, your words are very, very important right now, especially those who are listening at the moment,
Mhm.
and who want to adopt a child or are thinking about adopting a child. Now, what would you say to them to encourage parents who are considering adoption to go ahead and take that step? What would you say to them, Datin?
Okay. Like I said earlier, they both couples has got to agree to this big decision. This is adopting a child. It's not a small decision, and it goes a long way. So both parties must be agreed, and both husband and wife must be supporting each other in handling the child. And then also we want them to have a discussion with their extended family, so that the extended family can also support them during the difficult time. So these are the things that you have to consider if you have decided to go for adoption. And also, I would advise that age-wise, you see, uh, for couples that has problems in conceiving or having their own biological child, you may want to decide quite early, so that you are still at the age where you can take good care of the child. We have had applications from couples that comes to us at the age of 47, 48, which is actually is quite difficult. And the JKM's requirement, I think they have also age limit of 45. So
Right.
this is again in the interest of the child.
Definitely. Whatever orphan care is doing, it's more in the interest of the child. Every child needs a family.
Mhm.
And this has been a very, mind-opening chat with you, Datin. Thank you so much.
You're
Hopefully,
most welcome.
yeah, hopefully it opens up our mind about what children need, and for those who are, thinking of adopting, there is so much to think about. There is so much discussion. And once that step has taken, it's acceptance. So that's how I see it. Datin Paduka Cik Asmah, thank you so much for being here with me. And I wish you all the best in the next future endeavors in dealing with any other adoptive parents, and hopefully every child gets a home. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, and we hope that public can support our work to ensure that every child has a family.